Welcome, everybody. I am Jeff Duden, and we are on the Homefront. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Homefront Brands, simply building the world's most responsible franchise platform, encouraging entrepreneurs to take action and transform their lives, impact communities, and enhance the lives of those they care the most about, all the while delivering enterprise-level solutions to local business owners out there on the Homefront where it matters. If this sounds like you, check us out today at homefrontbrands.com and start your next chapter of greatness, building your dynasty on the Homefront. I will be looking for you here. And today we have an incredible guest, Eric Hinman, on. Welcome, Eric.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Eric is an accomplished endurance athlete with 5 Ironman competitions under his belt. Beyond that, he has established himself as a captivating content creator. Eric has attracted sponsorships from numerous well-known consumer brands, including Vital Proteins, GNC, 10,000, Beam, Lane 8, Chipotle, and Whole Foods. Eric's entrepreneurial spirit encompasses the domains of health, wellness, technology, and hospitality. He is a visionary co-founder of Original Grain, a thriving chain of health-conscious, fast casual restaurants, as well as Exo Taco, an exciting Mexican eatery located in Syracuse, New York. Eric has become an angel investor, supporting innovators to disruptors in the industry. Notable angel investments are 10,000, Well, and Swerve Fitness, all of which embody his commitment to pioneering advancements in the field. Eric, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, 100%. If you don't mind, our listeners are people that are at an inflection point in their life. They're looking to do something different, maybe leave corporate America and really change something. And what's really interesting about what we're going to talk about with you today is when people are going through a change in their career and their business life, I also recommend they go through a change in their physical. Like, change one thing, change all. If you've gotten out of shape or you hadn't been working out or you haven't taken care of your wellness or your mental acuity, make a wholesale change, right? Be a better you all the way around. And I think you're going to have a lot to offer in that regard. I'm super excited. So, Eric, if you don't mind, where'd you grow up, man? What's your background?
Yeah, so I grew up in a really small town in upstate New York, Pulaski, New York. I grew up snowmobiling, salmon fishing, bass fishing on Lake Ontario. I enjoyed sports. I played basketball. I played Little League. I played Senior League. I ran cross country. I ran track. So I did all the team sports in elementary school and high school. Then I thought I was going to be a professional basketball player. Every single night playing for 3 hours in my parents' backyard, I was just thinking about being a Chicago Bull and playing alongside Michael Jordan someday. Obviously, that didn't come to fruition. When I didn't grow past 5'10", my dreams were stunted. But, I always enjoyed competing against myself, even at a really young age. And I think that's carried through with everything I've done. I've just always been really interested in progress and bettering myself and having a full cup so I can give back to others. So early on, it was, team sports where I was competing against myself, but also competing against others. And then I went off to college at Geneseo, a small state school in Rochester, New York. During that time period, I studied business management and I got into weightlifting, but it was very vanity based, having a big chest and doing bicep curls to have big arms and to look good on spring break. I wasn't doing any cardio. I wasn't doing any functional lifts like deadlifts or squats. It was very just bodybuilder type lifts, leaving out the functional lifts. I hadn't made the correlation yet of exercise and well-being. During that time period, I was partying, drinking, going, I thought that was the way to meet friends and be vulnerable, and to be your authentic self was to consume alcohol. And I think a lot of us in our late teens and early 20s do that to figure out who we are. And in my early 20s, I started my first business, which was a property and casualty insurance business. And I was driving 50,000 miles a year, thinking that Subway was my healthiest option when I was on the road. And I was sitting a lot. And I started to get pretty out of shape. I, maybe graduated college at 170, 175. And by my, 23rd birthday, I was probably 200, 205 and had a little gut, and, certainly didn't have the look that I have now from my years of training. So I hired a personal trainer in my mid to late 20s to help me get back into aesthetically good looking shape. And it was during that time period that I started to make the correlation between exercise and energy and mental clarity. I just realized how great I was feeling all day long. I didn't have to take a nap in the afternoons anymore. I didn't have this lull in energy. And then I got into triathlon. Triathlon is what really changed my life. And it was during those years that I made the correlation between like, wow, like I have so much mental clarity now. I have so much energy. People want to be around me. I'm attracting so many opportunities into my life. I'm meeting the type of people that I want to be around, risk takers and, people that invest in themselves and, then can invest in others. Because prior to that, it was so much just like chasing the public perception of success, and I think many of us get stuck in this hamster wheel of chasing the wrong things that only make you feel like you're insignificant, and you keep trying to like chase it more, at the detriment of your well-being. So, those years are when I realized like exercise fills my soul. Like I really want to figure out a way to build businesses and build my life around wellness.
Yeah, incredible. There's so much in there. So movement is transcendent across all aspects of our life. And if you want to move your business or you want to move a relationship, man, you need to move your body.
Yep.
And being static or in a status quo is not a great place to be. And it's interesting you said that. So my last book is called Discernment, but it's the business athlete's regimen for a great life through better decisions. And no matter what you're doing, you need to work out. If you talk to comedians, when they go into clubs, man, they're working out. That's what they do. And they feel like if they don't work out 5 days a week, they lose their edge. It's the same thing for, you in business. And people can say, well, I'm not going to take the time to do that away from my business, but I don't think you can afford not to take the time to be as healthy as you possibly can be if you really want to be a high performing business athlete.
Can't agree more. My friends and I, we talk about the hybrid athlete, but in the sense of building businesses around doing the things that you enjoy, and also, having enough energy, clarity to build those businesses, because it's hard. You need to have emotional well-being. You need to have stress resilience. And so many of these, hard CrossFit workouts, sitting in cold water, sitting in a hot sauna, they're teaching you to be resilient, and they're teaching you delayed gratification, and they're teaching you to set mini goals to achieve this major goal down the road. So those are all things that can be carried over to so many other aspects in life, from owning a business to being a good dad, to being a good husband, to being a good employer. So I do think that the hybrid athlete is something that we should think about, and how we live our lives. And also making the correlation between our ancestors and us. Like we've created a lot of comforts in our life to our detriment. And, some things you have to bring back into your life so that you thrive the way our ancestors were, designed us to thrive, and encountering an animal and having to run and having periods where you don't eat. And, there's fight or flight responses from things that scare us. So there's a lot of things that I've incorporated back in, and just kind of associate them back to like how a caveman would have lived and how we're designed to thrive. And I don't know that we were designed to have these massive networks and, to just chase money and capitalism. Like we were designed to be outside a lot, and we were designed to get sun, and we were designed to eat animal-based products. And we've created a lot of stuff that hurts us.
Yeah, that's such an interesting observation, and I haven't thought about this for maybe 20 years, but recognition at some point in my life, and I don't remember exactly when it was, that every innovation was focused on making our life easier, whether it's air conditioning or cars or, even getting up to change the television channel. Or I don't even have to do this now. I don't even have to get up and change my air conditioning. I don't have to do every innovation is just to take away, to make things easier for us. So people want to change their life, and they're looking at a business. They're like, okay, well, I mean, how hard is this going to be? Am I going to be able to accomplish this? Well, yeah, it's going to be hard. And yeah, it's going to be long. And there's probably going to be 1,000 obstacles that are going to come in your way. But every time you overcome one of those, you're getting some percent better. You're getting some percent more resilient. You're gonna have more confidence in yourself. So challenging yourself, because by the way, Eric, none of this stuff is fatal. So how did you get into the Ironman from where you were? At what point in your life did you say, I want to compete at this level? and this is what I need to do next in my life.
Sure. So, I mean, it really started with the personal trainer in my mid 20s. What ultimately got me into triathlon was a bunch of my friends signed up for a half Ironman, the first one that was coming to Syracuse. And they bought these fancy bikes that had four handlebars. And I saw one of the bikes and I'm like, those look so cool. What is that for? And they're like, we're doing a half Ironman. I'm like, what's a half Ironman? They're like a triathlon where you swim 1.2 miles, you bike 56, and you run a half marathon. And I'm like, you can do that in a day? And they're like, yeah, people do it in 4 hours. And I was just like mind blown by that. I almost drowned in the swim. I had to side stroke and backstroke my way through it because I had no swimming background. I passed a bunch of people on the bike because I had strong legs from all of the CrossFit type workouts, and I passed a bunch of people on the run, which was empowering. And I ended up finishing third in my age group in a small local triathlon. So it was empowering. I'm like, I think I can be good at
Yeah.
this. So then I signed up for an Olympic distance. And then my first half Ironman came along a year after doing my first sprint distance triathlon. So I had ambitions of just magically going out there and like ripping this half marathon in Cambridge, Maryland called Eagle Man and qualifying for the Ironman World Championships in Kona. I think there were going to be like 2 spots for my age group, and I was going to have to do like a 4:20, which is really fast. I always was pretty bad at the swim. That was where I just kind of hung on. It was my warm up into the bike and run. Passed a bunch of people on the bike, had a pretty good bike race, and then I went out on the run at about a 6:30, 6:45 pace. I had no business doing that. I was at a 7 minute per mile pace on mile 2, and then a 7:30 mile 3. And then the wheels fell off 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes walking. So I finished the race. My time was 5:13, and I had to stand under a fire hose for about 30 minutes to cool down. It was a hot, humid day. And I just, I blew through all of my glycogen way too early because I was going too hard. Like, we only have so many matches to burn. So I tell my girlfriend at the time, I'm like, I'm never doing that again. That was the dumbest thing I've ever done. That was so hard. Like, I'm miserable. I'm sore. I can't walk. And then like an hour later, I told her, I think I'm going to sign up for Ironman Lake Placid next year. So it's amazing how the sport sucks you in. I missed qualifying for the World Championships by 1 place in 1 minute. And that was my motivation to do it again the next year, 2013. I qualified for Kona, 2013, had a horrible race in Kona. And then that was my motivation to do it all again, over again in 2014. I had a great race in Lake Placid, went to Kona, had a great race in Kona. And then I kind of felt like I was going through the motions after that. And one of the things, that I like to tell people is that, we all have these various life chapters where, we're going to have passion and purpose for a while. And then when you start to lose that passion and purpose, it's time to close that chapter and move on to the next one. And, I started to lose my passion and purpose for the sport. I wasn't able to be as involved in my business endeavors anymore because of the long training hours and the recovery and all of the other things. Yeah. I mean, it was time for me to move on in 2015, 16. And 2017 is when I kind of really landed on my feet again and said, okay, I just want to feel good day in and day out. And I want to share these things I've learned over the years with others so that they can implement some of these wellness routines into their lives. So, they can perform at a high level, physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Yeah, I've said many times that observationally, people that have lived a life well, in my opinion, have had many lives within their
Yep.
life. They've had many different phases. They've had many different businesses. There's clear demarcation between them starting something and then going to the next thing. Because to get the next thing, you sometimes you got to give up
Yep.
something, right? Nothing's free. You got to. There's always a trade off, and we all need adventures in life. And if we want to maintain our excitement for the life that we live, man, we got to keep identifying new peaks to climb and things like that. So when you were going through the Ironman, is that when you started with the social, like, were you starting to build a business following while you were training and doing the events? And then that was something that you were able to leverage into your next
I
phase?
was, but there was no intention to it. I was just posting sexy bike photos and all the food I was eating and my run split.
Now, what was the bike sexy or
The
you?
bike was sexy. The bike was sexier than me. It
Okay.
was really sexy. So yeah, I mean, there was no intention behind it. I didn't think of it as a brand. I certainly didn't think of it as a business during those years, but I picked up a bike sponsor during my Ironman years, meaning I got a bike for free, which was nice. After Ironman, a few brands started reaching out here and there, inviting me on different experiences or sending me product, maybe paying me a couple $100s to post a picture. And, I'm like, that's really cool. But I still wasn't really thinking of it as a business or a brand. And then Oakley reached out to me in 2016 and invited me to spectate the Ironman World Championships. And I wasn't competing anymore, but I was still in the sport. I was still running pretty high volume and biking. And they wanted me to promote these new sunglasses they were coming out with. So I said yes to that and jumped all over it. And that was really the aha moment of, wow, like brands are going to start allocating marketing budgets towards people with niche followings. So then I started learning photography and, figuring out how to take good pictures that captivated people. I started adding more value. I started thinking about, what kind of emotion I wanted to evoke with the images I was posting, which was generally, inspiring people. And, then more brands started reaching out as I started adding value for them. I started sharing on my stories and feed posts, like brands I loved and whose products and services I loved. And then they would message me and say, hey, we'd love to send you more. And like, hey, would you like post something on your feed in exchange for this? And I'm like, yeah. And then in 2017 or 2018, I was on the summit of Mount Morrison, which we actually look at from our backyard now. And I sent a voice message to a friend in New York City, Dean Statman, who had recently left his position as the head editor at Men's Health, and he was starting his own PR firm. And I said, hey, Dean, I'm on the summit of Mount Morrison right now. And I had this thought as I was outside with my heart rate elevated, which is usually when I have my best thoughts. And I'm like, I'm starting to have a lot of brands reach out to me. And, I'd love to have someone represent me as an agent to help negotiate these deals, because I don't think I'm placing nearly enough value on myself for what I'm delivering to some of these brands that I'm working with. Like generally, I'm just trading posts for product. And I'm like, also, I think I could add value for you in a lot of the brands reaching out. They need PR, and you could probably work them with on a PR front. So, he sent me a message back, said, let me think about it. The day after, he said, let's do it. We'll give it a whirl. And that's when things like really went off to the races, because then I could delegate contract negotiation, invoicing, some of the things that I didn't want to do because I was living my best life. I was out playing in the wilderness in Colorado and mountain biking and trail running, and I didn't want to screw that up. And then, it's really evolved over the years into more of a consulting role. Now, most of the brands I work with, I'm helping them build their ambassador programs. I end up investing in them. I introduce them to investors. I introduce them to retail channels, to buyers. I put on community events almost every week now. So I'm giving product out to people. I'm building my own ambassador program where I seed product to people to really amplify awareness. I'm starting to host and co-host wellness events. And I have this container of founders that I work with where I allow for them to interact with each other, and I put on experiences for consumer brand founders so they can interact with each other. So, now, what you see me posting is 10% of what I'm doing for the brands I'm working with. More of it is this consulting type role. And, that was me putting my business hat back on of like, I think I can really add a ton of ROI for brands because I've built businesses, I've co-founded businesses, I've, helped businesses raise money. Like I can do a lot more than just, move the needle by posting photos and videos on social media.
When you expanded your team and you got somebody to do the business side of it, but when you were taking the pictures and all of that, did you have a team working with you, or were you kind of doing it yourself?
I was doing it all myself. I've been doing it all myself up until the last 4 or 5 months. And, I got to a
Okay.
point where I was hitting my head on a ceiling, and I went through the ceiling, and I'm like, I'm doing way too much myself. I can't do this anymore. So, the last
Yeah.
5 or 6 months, I've started to delegate some things. And, I have photographers and videographers and people that help me with content strategy that are working with me now. But yeah, up until 6 months ago, everything was me. It was me learning how to, shoot photos on a fancy camera, how to edit photos. And then when Instagram turned more to videos, it was understanding how to be a film director. And, once you learn how to use a camera and aperture and depth of field and all of that stuff, then there's a whole nother creative side of like, how to make a captivating video, that's a whole nother skill.
Mm.
So I've had to learn that on my own. And, it's reps and sets like anything in life. The more you do something, you're going to learn it. And I've always been good at surrounding myself with people that can help me get somewhere faster. So, if there's any superpower someone can have, it's finding those people that are doing what you want to do and adding value for them so they'll add value back to you. And, that's helped me along the way to, pick up skills faster.
I've heard you talk about sets and reps and kind of as it relates to taking risks. What times in your life have taken some risks and, it's worked out really well for you? Or how do you think about risk in the decisions that you make every day today?
Never worked for anybody. My whole business career has been starting my own businesses, co-founding businesses, investing in businesses. So, kind of from day one out of college, I was taking financial risks. And, I also do a lot of things that are uncomfortable, from my workouts to Ironmans to Leadville 100 to sitting in hot saunas to jumping in cold streams. Like all of those are very uncomfortable in the moment, but they teach you delayed gratification. And that's a lot of what risk is just delayed gratification of knowing that you're not going to get something immediately. There you could fail, but if you try enough things or you do the same thing long enough, like you're going to be successful at it. So it's a combination of those things. And yeah, I mean, investing in businesses is super scary. Starting a business is super scary, but the more you do it,
Yeah.
the more you realize it doesn't hurt as much as it did the first time. Like when I lost my first client in my insurance business, I thought it was the end of the world. Now I don't even know when I lose a client. Now, those things come and go. So you have to practice your risk tolerance in all aspects of life to get better at taking risks and to get better at uncomfortable things.
When we talk about top performance, keys to top performance or, how people can get started that maybe haven't been, they've been in corporate America, they've been grinding it out, maybe they're raising kids and they haven't taken care of themselves. You talk about diet, you talk about exercise, you talk about sleep. All of these things are about total wellness. And for me, so I'm a 55-year-old guy. And this year I've lost 30 pounds. I got a trainer starting in November. Well, truth be known, you ever heard of traveler's diarrhea? So I was in the Dominican, the last 8 pounds, I hope I gained back because I was in the Dominican and I came home with Montezuma's
Oof.
revenge. But like you want to lose weight, eat an ice cube in a country that you shouldn't or something like that. I mean, Eric, it was the most amazing experience of my life. I got to tell you, it was 4 days of absolute joy. But no, I mean, but literally, I lost about 25 pounds this year. The mental acuity that I have and the ability to be present with people and the ability to think and later into the day, it's amazing. And I've been in and out of shape my whole life, but really, I really hadn't taken it seriously until, I mean, I'm in the best shape I've been in since college. I was a college football player. I played around 232. I was a running back and a tight end. So I was about 232 and I'm sitting here at about 225 right now. I was 255, 26. I would never thought I was going to see the 220s again. I'm not sure exactly what the trigger was for me in terms of that, other than the fact that I knew that, well, I can tell you what the trigger was for me. I was embarking on a new journey. We've launched this new franchise platform. We're bringing on 10 to 20 new franchise owners every month. I have to be there for them. It's going to take more energy. I've got to travel more. I've got to be in front of the camera more. I've got to lead more. So these types of things really motivated me to be my best self. How do people get started when they're not going to be to where you are overnight? Like, what are some simple things that can impact performance that you would recommend for people in any of the spectrum of diet, exercise, supplements, or habits?
I think of the four main pillars, and the four main pillars for me are movement, specifically lifting moderately heavy weights, doing anaerobic conditioning, and doing some aerobic conditioning. That's number one pillar, and that's at the top of my food chain. Number two is nutrition, dialing that in and putting food on autopilot. I think we all know what things to eat, animal-based products, fruits and vegetables, things that you can find in nature. And, finding those things that you enjoy that are satiating, that provide you with energy and mental clarity, and then building structure around that so you don't have decision-making fatigue around food.
Mm.
Three is sleep, dialing in sleep. It's so important. It's your number one recovery tool. And then four is recovery practices, meditation. For me, it's contrast therapy, getting outside in solitude, I think is super important. So those would be recovery forms. And for me, it was really tackling one thing at a time. Mine started with movement, hiring a personal trainer, just so you have that accountability, you have discipline, and you gain knowledge. Once you can put that on autopilot and you have the motivation and you have the knowledge to understand, what workouts to do, and you found your tribe and you found things that are accessible to you, I think that's super important. Move on to the next thing, move on to diet, and, find those foods that work for you, that you don't have to think about food all the time. The only times I think about food are maybe one day a week when I go out to dinner, when I'm, picking something off of a menu. Outside of that, like, I know exactly what I'm eating and when, every moment of the day. And then sleep is dabbling with different sleep routines, different sleep supplements, magnesium, L-theanine, GABA, melatonin, and figuring out what works for you to get at least 7 hours and preferably 8 hours of sleep, and good sleep, waking up at most one time throughout the night, sleeping in a cool, dark environment, wearing earplugs, wearing a sleep mask, avoiding highly stimulating environments late at night. Those are some of my keys to sleep. But I tinkered with it for 6 to 8 months before I finally dialed in my sleep. And then the recovery routine, sauna, contrast therapy. I'm combining that with meeting new people. Someone reaches out to me, I tell them to come over in sauna. That's where I take all of my meetings. That's where I bond with close friends, is in the sauna. We have a rotation of people that come here every single night to sauna. So, I combined human connection, meetings, meeting new people with that sauna time. And, this sounds like a lot, but a lot of it you can also combine with other things so that, you're productive during those time periods. But start with movement and then, focus on the next of those pillars, and know that it's a journey. This could be a 5-year journey. And it was for me. I focused on one thing for a year, and then I moved on to the next, and then moved on to the next, and just have it stacked over time. So it's not trying to do all of it at once. It's figuring out one pillar and then moving on to the next pillar. And then, once they're all on autopilot, you're going to free up so much more decision-making bandwidth, and you're going to have so much more energy to pour into the things and people that you love.
I tell you, man, this is like a playbook for success for the people. It's movement, nutrition, sleep, and recovery. So if I go back over the last 7 months, the first thing that led to where I am today is I needed knee replacements, and I had put them off for years. So I got double knee replacements. It took me a good 6 to 12 months to fully recover from that. Then I realized that I was atrophied all my muscles. So, I was like, well, I got to get back. And my family convinced me to get going with this trainer, which I started maybe 7 months ago. Nothing happened good. I started going twice a week. And then I started to feel better, and I started to really regain some of my college, athlete type muscle. And then all of a sudden, about 3 months in, I'm like, wow, this is really helping. So then I realized that I was really dragging in the afternoon. So I went and had some blood work done, realized that I needed some hormone therapy. Mm-hmm. So I got a little bit of hormone therapy. So I got that balanced out right. Then I started eating 3 meals a day, 3 eggs in the morning. Go to Whole Foods for lunch, piece of salmon, some broccoli and stuff like that. And then I will eat a pretty big dinner, whatever I can get my hands on. But, try to make sure there's some lettuce inside of that. But then the other thing that I incorporated was infrared sauna. So I'll train 3 days a week with a trainer. I'll do probably 3 days alternatively on the rower and do core work at home. I'll go to a sauna sit in the infrared sauna 4 times a week. And then making sure, and then, a couple of different supplements and whatnot. And I don't know, I don't want to stop any of it because I don't know which of it's working or if it's a combination of the entire cocktail. But I think sleep is the one that I'm horrible at right now. So I'm going to focus, I'm going to take that one next and see what I can do to improve my sleep. So I really appreciate that.
Amazing. Yeah, try magnesium, L-theanine, GABA. I take a supplement called Beam Dream. It does have melatonin in it. I know that, a lot of people are talking about melatonin not being the best thing to take. It is a hormone, but I feel like, there are a lot of hormone replacement therapies out there at this point, and it's not like I'm spending $5,000 a month on melatonin. It's a pretty cheap supplement. So, I'll do almost anything to get really quality sleep. And Beam Dream, their product, I don't wake up groggy. It's not a massive dose of melatonin, so that's the one that I've been taking lately. But you can just play around with magnesium, L-theanine, GABA. Those are some of the really good ingredients that help with sleep. But the big one for me is that avoiding highly stimulating environments late at night. I very rarely go out to concerts, even though Red Rocks Amphitheater is just down the hill from our house. And I'm not entertaining super late at night. I'm not on super late at night, because that's when you wake up with your mind racing. And I think that's a common problem amongst people that are really busy and type A, is that you don't give your mind a break before bed. So your mind continues to think throughout the night, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you're wide awake and you got to write stuff down. And then you look at your phone and that screws up your circadian rhythm. So that's been a big one for me. And then the cool, dark environment and wearing earplugs, like controlling your sleep environment, is huge.
Do you build up a resistance to melatonin or the Beam product or anything like that?
I have taken Beam for 3 years, ever since they launched it, and I have been taking melatonin since 2010, 2011. So there have been a few times where I didn't have melatonin and I slept fine. I don't think I slept as well as I do with melatonin, but it's not like I was, scratching my head in bed and couldn't get to sleep at all. I was still able to get to
Yeah.
sleep. So yeah, I mean, a lot of studies are saying that if you take melatonin for too long, you're going to have to keep taking melatonin, because you're going to develop a addiction to it. But again, it's not something that is super expensive. And yeah, I mean, in my 13 years of taking it, I haven't seen any negative side effects.
And you don't feel like you have to take more.
No, I mean, I take my same scoop of Beam Dream every single night, and that is fine for me. I sleep like a baby.
Oh, awesome. I have this concept of creation versus consumption. And you're a creator. You've created businesses, you create content, you create experiences, you create economics for companies, and you're busy moving around doing things versus maybe consumption. Not all consumption's bad, but as Americans, we do tend to overconsume lots of things. Telephone, social media, food, alcohol, drugs, all of that kind of stuff. One of the things I talk to my kids about is, observationally, people that are more fulfilled tend to have a higher creation to consumption
Mhm.
ratio. So, for me, I'm happiest when I'm presenting, when I'm talking, when I'm coaching, when I'm writing something out, when I'm coming up with a new concept or an idea. Have you ever thought about that, and like what really makes you on fire, or what really lights you up in terms of how you balance out those activities?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, for me, there's a direct correlation between anaerobic conditioning, lifting heavy weights, a certain amount of aerobic conditioning, and my ability to create. Meaning, if I am sitting all day long or I'm on a plane, like I get the least done. I am just consuming and I feel like shit. But if I get my morning CrossFit workout in 90 minutes, heavy lifting, anaerobic conditioning, all I want to do afterwards is be completely present in what I'm doing and who I'm with. And I'm all about creating. I'm not looking to consume anything. And then, if I do that for 3 hours, like I need a little break from it. And then I go off into the wilderness and I do my aerobic conditioning, generally about 60 minutes. And then after that, I have another 2 hour block of all I want to do is create. My mind is clear. I have lots of energy and I'm ready to just get shit done. So I feel like I have this nice ebb and flow of fueling creation, fueling presence, fueling captive conversations with people, fueling creativity, and then taking a break, doing what makes me creative again, and then doing it again. And then, winding down in the evening, because I think we need that reset period. So, yeah, I found a nice balance between that. And I consume for maybe 45 minutes in the evenings. That's my wind down routine. I'll watch something on YouTube, generally something I can learn from, and then I go to bed. So I try to build my day around, the things that make me creative, and then a little bit of consumption, but not consuming the wrong things and not consuming all day long, because it is easy to get trapped on like a down day if I'm flying all day into this just constant consumption. And then you find yourself endlessly scrolling TikTok, and 45 minutes later, like, you didn't do anything productive. And I'm not knocking that, like, there's a time and a place to just mindlessly consume, but it's really easy to get in the trap of mindless consumption with no real benefit. And then comparison creeps in, and jealousy creeps in, and am I enough creeps in. And that's the wrong spiral to be in.
Yeah. So envy is the enemy of
Hmm.
enlightenment. You stop learning when you start being jealous, and it's really counterproductive. What have you learned about setting boundaries?
I mean, structure is my boundaries. My days are super structured. I block off my workout times. I block off my outdoor adventure times. I block off my sauna and bonding with other human time. I block off my time with Sarah. I block off my time for when I'm going to be smoking meat on the Yoder smoker I'm staring at. So my days are super structured, so it doesn't allow for much unnecessary to creep in. It doesn't allow for, other things to take hold of my day. And I know when I want to work, and, that's my work time. And I know when I want to schedule my calls for, and also when I'm going to be my best on calls. I'm not, and also like meeting with people. Like people reach out to me often to work out with me. And like, that's my time to work out. Like, you're not going to get my best and my complete presence if we're working out together. You're going to get my complete presence in a sauna when my phone will overheat if I'm using it. So that's when I schedule, those sessions. And I like doing things like this, where we get to have flow state conversations where we're both adding value for each other. Yeah, I mean, boundaries are structure. If you structure your days around ways that are going to enable you to thrive, and ways that will enable you to give back, and ways that will fill your cup so full that it's overflowing and you want to give back, like, that's, in my opinion, the way to live life.
Well said. Well said. So what's coming up for you, Eric? What's your next chapter going to look like?
Lots of community events. I've really been enjoying that, more and more wellness retreats where, I'm curating the experience, and I'm curating the people, knowing that everyone there is going to add a lot of value for everyone else. Long term, we host a lot at the house. God bless my girlfriend for allowing so many people to come to our house and work out here and sauna here and stay with us. But I think eventually I'd like to have a retreat type compound where there's lots of saunas and cold plunges and an outdoor workout area, and easy access to biking trails and running trails and rucking trails, and a cold stream flowing through the property, just to entertain the way I enjoy doing it. Um, and then just building more. I love building things. I love building communities. I love building brands. I love helping other people build brands. So, ultimately, I've figured out how to live life in a way that attracts opportunities. So, I would be lying if I told you exactly what my life is going to look like 5 years from now. But I know if I continue living my life the way I do now, that 5 years from now, I'm going to be stoked where I am, just based on how I live life each day. And I think it's important to design, these perfect days for yourself. And obviously, things are going to get in the way of that. And that's why I think you do these hard things, so that when, life sucks, someone gets sick, a business fails, like, you've built up the stress resilience to overcome that, and realize that it's a speed bump in life. Life is just a series of ups and downs. And the more you can smooth it by putting good stressors into your life, the better you're going to be when these shitty scenarios come up. So yeah, structure, figure out your perfect day, figure out how to monetize a large portion of it.
Are people coming to you these days for these events, or you travel a lot?
I travel a lot. We do a lot in Colorado for sure. It's easy and, it's a beautiful place for people to come to here. And we have a big network of people that enjoy doing the same things here. So we do a lot in Colorado, but I'm headed to Nashville this weekend. Hosting a sweat crawl in Nashville, which is doing a workout at a buddy's gym and then running a mile and a half to the Normal brand, which is a retail store I work with right on Broadway. We'll have ice barrels set up outside the store and everybody will do ice baths and shop and mingle and eat afterwards. So I'm doing a lot in different cities as well. Sweat crawls, community workouts, community cold plunges, community rucks, and then these wellness events. I've co-hosted one in Denver with my buddy Brian Mazza recently called HPLT, High Performance Lifestyle Training. And we're chatting about me doing more of those on the West Coast for him. And I'm doing another Founders Day experience in Palm Springs in October. I'll be doing more and more of those. So I like going to places that, beg you to be outside, where I have built-in networks, where the sun is shining, and where there's access to cold water.
Clearly, everybody needs to follow you so that they know when you're coming to a location near them. I got introduced to you because you were working out here right in Cornelius, North Carolina, right near my hometown. If you ever come back this way, I'd love to host you, take you out on the lake. We could do a little bit. I bet you can wake surf. If you've never done it before, I bet you can do it the first time. Have you done that?
I haven't. No, I grew up skiing, water skiing, knee boarding, solo water skiing. But I haven't tried wake surfing. I have a friend who has a boat here in Colorado and he's invited me and I really want to go. I will 100% take you up on that. Your neck of the woods is beautiful. I was honestly blown away with how much I enjoyed my time in Huntersville, Cornelius, and just outside of Charlotte, Lake Norman. I mean, that area is absolutely beautiful and you have a great wellness community there.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And you would crush it, I'm sure. I am sure. So, Eric, how can people connect with you? How can they, what's the best way to follow you and stay plugged into what you got going on?
Yep. Instagram is the best place. Just my name, at Eric Hinman on Instagram. My website, erickhinman.com. We're building out a new website right now, which is going to list all of the different community events that are coming up. So you'll be able to see when those events are coming to your area. But yeah, Instagram is the best place where I'm posting often about different experiences that are happening.
Yeah, you got a great Instagram account. You know the difference between yours and mine?
What's the difference?
154,000 followers and a shirt.
I love it. So funny. My bio used to read, retired at 34, exploring the world most days shirtless. And that very much was my life 8 years ago when I was 34. But I have a shirt on more often now because of all of the meetings I'm taking. But a lot of the people still know that I may show up, in the middle of a mountain bike ride or on the top of a mountain with my shirt off for a brand call.
Yeah, as you should. And I encourage everybody to follow and see what's going on there and get involved with these events. Last question for you, Eric. If you had one sentence to make an impact in someone's life today, what would that be?
Movement is medicine. That's the moniker that I live by. Movement has brought so many positive things into my life. The environment that I'm in now was because of my wanting to move often, being out here in Colorado. My friend group now is because of movement. So many of the business opportunities that have come my way in the last 6 or 7 years have come from movement, and how I feel every day has come from movement. So movement is medicine.
Fantastic. Thank you, Eric. And thank you for being on today on the Homefront.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this was great. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by Homefront Brands, simply building the world's most responsible franchise platform. So if this sounds like something you are interested in, check us out at homefrontbrands.com today and start your next chapter of greatness on the Homefront. I will be here looking for you. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks for having me.